Okay, sorry, we were just having a slight glitch on the audio there. So my name's Reeza and I'm the education consultant for Sonosant. Sorry, my laptop decided to go to sleep. So here we are. So here we've got our two reluctant writers, and up and down the country for most teachers, this is a challenge. Generally, they'll have a student or a cohort of students that they would define as being reluctant writers, and this is a challenge. For those particular students, they can suffer from anxiety, stress, even anger and withdrawal. So it can be quite a challenge in looking at those techniques to try and engage these students to make sure that they are not disenfranchised. First of all, it might be useful to look at a definition of a reluctant writer, and so I'll just read this to you. This is one that I found and I feel is quite a good best fit. A reluctant writer is one who experiences one or more barriers to the writing process on a regular basis. Barriers may be exhibited during the process of writing, as well as or instead of the start of the process. In addition, a reluctant writer may be defined as one whose writing is habitually superficial, either because ideas are not expanded or because the writing is executed in haste. So what would be useful is to look at some of the underlying reasons for being a reluctant writer, and there are many reasons for that. One basic one is English as a second language, and so these particular students are developing their vocab. They don't necessarily have the basic language skills and the technical skills to put pen to paper and capture their thoughts. SPAG skills, so spelling, punctuation and grammar. So this is very much on the technical element of writing, and so again, if the student hasn't quite grasped these various different techniques, then again that can be a barrier. They're focusing more on the technical secretarial aspects of writing and not the creative side. Cognitive ability is a very important aspect of writing. It requires many skills to happen at the same time, and so you're trying to reflect in terms of what you've written, as well as what you're going to write, as well as putting pen to paper. So that can be quite challenging, particularly for students with particular learning support needs, such as dyslexia. Working memory is quite an important attribute to being a reluctant writer. So quite commonly when you talk to teachers, they'll say, yeah, I've got a student who's a reluctant writer, but actually if I get them to speak their ideas, they're rich in terms of oracy skills. They've got lots of ideas. It's the challenge of translating those ideas into paper. And so, and a very sort of basic fundamental thing is fine motor control. So they don't necessarily have the physical ability to hold a pen and write. So that again can be an issue. And so, and also if we take it out of the context of English, but maybe sort of look at modern foreign languages, when we start to have students learning a second language, etc. And this product can be used across the curriculum. It's not just for English, it can be used in modern foreign languages. Again, a student who may be confident in English, maybe not so confident, obviously because they're learning the skills, the technical skills for a foreign language. So again, they start to, they may feel that, may feel very reluctant in terms of putting pen to paper because they're not so confident. So across all of this, the issue is putting pen to paper. So what we're trying to look at is a no pen solution, something that can circumvent some of the issues of putting pen to paper. And so what we're going to look at in this seminar is looking at using audio as a process for doing that and showing the technique. So working through audio frees your writers to express their ideas and develop the necessary techniques to kickstart the writing process. So what we're looking at is breaking up writing into two key stages. First of all, the creativity part, and so get them to talk their ideas through and capture those ideas. Once we've captured those ideas, at least then we can use that to start focusing on the writing process. And so writing doesn't isn't such a barrier. And what we'll be looking at in this seminar is the Somerset Schools Pack, which includes Audio Notetaker, which is the software, as well as a whole bank of different lesson resources, example files, etc. And how we describe it, it's an audio-centric workspace that empowers reluctant writers to communicate and capture their ideas quickly, overcoming the underlying challenges of putting pen to paper. So how does it work? Well, how it works, and we'll obviously go through a tour of the software visualises each phrase in a recording as coloured chunks. And so what it means then is it's easy then to visualise the spoken language, and then the way it's displayed makes it easy then to edit and analyse and process that audio, as if you could break it into sections, just like as if breaking up the audio into paragraphs, as in you would do in a Word document. And so the analogy I use is very much like working with a word processor, but rather than working with text initially, what you're doing is working with audio. And once you've structured and organised the audio, you can then start the writing process. So what we'll now do is going to show you the actual product itself. So I'm just going to bring that up. Just bear with us a second. Okay, so I'm just going to hide some bits on my screen so I get this clear. Okay, so here we have Audio Notetaker, and so in terms of age range and views, I would say a student from the ages of 9+, who has, is starting to feel comfortable in terms of keyboarding skills, should be comfortable in terms of using this product independently. When we get to younger ages, then it may require the help of a teaching assistant or a scribe to help translate the audio into a text format. And what I'll do is I'll go through some examples of work that has been done. So let's start first of all by just showing you how the product works, because that's the best way of showing you the concept. So just make sure the settings right. So here we go. So this is me demonstrating Audio Notetaker. And as you can see, as I'm speaking, it's visualizing my speech pattern. You'll see these bars here, and these are representing a sequence of words that make up the phrase, and we call these chunks. Now the gaps in between are my natural pauses is in terms of when I'm speaking. And so what this is good at, first of all, is in terms of being able to visualize spoken language. And so the key bit is, what do you do with this? Obviously it's giving me a nice pretty pattern, but what this software empowers you to do. So we'll just stop the recording there, and I can just show you how. So, for example, you might set a student a particular project, and so rather than getting them to put pen to paper, you might get them to just record their ideas into the software. So there's various different ways you can bring the sound in. You can either import the sound in using either a digital voice recorder, a tablet, or, for example, if you've got a recording that you've done using a sound recording device, an MP3 recorder. Alternatively, you can just record directly into the software, as I've done now. And so once I've recorded it, I can then play that back. This is me demonstrating Audio Notetaker. And as you can see, it's now playing back as I'm speaking. It's visualising my speech pattern. Now, using the cursors, I can quickly skip through to certain sections. These are phrases, and we call these chunks. And as you can see, as I'm speaking, it's visualising my speech pattern. Now, I can start to break these up into sections, as I call it, like paragraphs. So maybe that was just idea 1, representing a sequence of words that make up idea 2. And the gaps in between are my natural pause. What this is good at visualising. Idea 3, language. Got five different ideas here as part of that audio. I can then start to edit that. So maybe as I'm listening to this, I've got some transcription tools here to help visualize spoken language. So the key bit is maybe I want to just delete that section out, so I can take that out. Maybe as I'm listening to this, what this is good at, first of all, is cut, and I can move that quite easily. And so what it does is, the way the software presents audio is in a very intuitive way. So I don't know if you've used products like Audacity, which is quite often used to manipulate the audio, and that's traditionally done in a WAV format, but that makes it very difficult to work out the start and ends of sentences, words, etc. By looking at these chunks, you're able to quickly navigate through the audio itself. So I can cut, paste, move, break up into certain sections. Right, there are also other bits as well. There's this colour key area here, and so, for example, as part of that, and it could be part of a listening and comprehension exercise, you may give them a piece of audio to listen to, and you might say, within this audio, can you identify verbs, nouns? So where they may have struggled with that in a text-based on paper, now you're using audio to demonstrate those types of concepts to see what their understanding is. So these all can be labelled up accordingly, and we have a bank of pre-done labels as well that you can use. So it could be that as they listen through, they've just got to identify the verbs. And then from that, you can even, for example, extract anything that was just in red. So identify anything in the recording which was a verb or a noun, etc. And so we can then do an extract. So on button, here it is, extract audio. And then we can choose the colour. So if we use several different colours, we'll get more options. We're just going to choose red, and it will just extract that section into a new file. Now, what I'm going to do now is we're going to just do a project, and it's going to be, this is one that's for year 7, so start of secondary, and the topic is Roman history. And so the task is for the student to go back in time. They're a time traveller, and they've got to write a postcard, so they haven't got to write too much. And the idea is what they've got to do is just document what they've seen. And so I have a student here, and so this time I've got a video. I'm going to stream the audio into the software, and as I said, there's many different ways in which you can stream the audio into the software. But in this instance, I'm going to use a video. I could, for example, have found a video on YouTube, and I could use that to stream the audio into. And so I'm just going to click on this capture tool and just play around just to match it up. So just bear with a second.
Hi.
Okay, just bear with a second. I'll just get this ready. Almost there. There we go. Right. So what we're going to do now is we have my student here, Zach, who may have struggled with putting this down on paper. So what we're going to do instead is get him just to narrate what his postcard is. So I'll just set this to record.
Hi. It is my second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went to watch the gladiators fight. Since new Roman friends insisted, it is the in thing. It was a gory mess. Lots of blood and body bits. After we went to a banquet, but it wasn't a as pleasant as it sounds. There were several courses, but some of the food they eat would make you throw up. Today we went chariot racing at Circus Maximus. That was too bloody, almost as bad as the gladiator fight. Must go now. See you back in 2013.
Okay, we've captured that. We're just going to play that back.
Hi, it is my second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went to watch the...
So we've captured that. Now, what I could have done as I was playing that, and I'll just do that separately, as a separate section, just for now, just to show you, I could have taken snapshots of the video that was playing. So if I start at a certain slot, and I'll press record again, and press play.
Throw up.
And so as I identify, say, certain sections, hold on, it's because the screen capture wasn't in the right place. But what it was doing, it was taking a snapshot of the screen as I was recording that. But because I hadn't set up that area, so I'll just do that quickly again.
Hi, it is my second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went to watch the gladiators fight, since new Roman friends insisted.
Okay, so I've set the area I want to capture again, and we'll just do that again. Play, and play here.
It is the infant. It was a gory mess. Lots of blood and body bits.
As I'm capturing, I can quickly break it down
After
into
we
sections.
went to a banquet,
So find key
but
points.
it wasn't as pleasant as it sounds.
And what that will do is, I'll stop that recording, is it's taken a snapshot of that key section, so that's a bit more successful than earlier. So that was just a matter of me forgetting to set the area that I wanted to capture. Okay, let's just go back to the exercise in hand. Just wanted to show you that particular picture. That's quite useful if, say, you quite often work with, say, resources such as video, and you want to take the audio in, but also take snapshots of, say, the video that they're seeing, for example. So I've got this piece of audio from the student. We'll play that back.
Hi, it is my second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went to watch the gladiators fight, since new Roman friends insisted. It is the infant. It was a gory mess. Lots of blood and body bits. After we went body bits.
So that's a new section, so I'm going to break that down into a new
After
paragraph.
we went to a banquet, but wasn't as pleasant as it sounds. There were several courses, but today we went...
So that's another section there.
Today we went chat. Must go now. That was too bloody. Must go now. That was too... Must go now. See you back in 2013.
Right, so we've broken up into sections. Now we can tidy this audio up further. We can trim out some of the silences. Obviously there were pauses as the student was thinking, which you might get, so you can trim the silences quite quickly. There was an area here, I think.
After we went to a banquet, wasn't there...
where actually there's some silences, so we can
Today we went.
take
Today
them
we
out.
went chariot racing at Circus Maximus. That was too bloody.
Also, for example, and this can happen with recording, you may have forgotten to include something. And so Zach here had forgotten to say that he'd gone to the Roman baths before he went to see the chariot racing. And so he might then afterwards record that section, and then, so the chariot racing is here.
Today we went chariot.
So what we'll do is we'll break that as a section, and he recorded this here.
This morning we went to the Roman baths. Lots of swimming, then relaxing.
And I can just drop this in. Now, we might want to just look at it and say, well, actually, I just want to deal with the audio that dealt with yesterday. So when he went to the gladiator fighting, and the Roman banquet. So I could highlight that as a certain section, and I could again use the extraction tool to extract just the green. And so in a new file, I just have for yesterday.
Hi, it is my second day.
So it makes it very easy to be able to manipulate the audio and just pull out the key sections that you want. Now, the key bit now is we have captured their ideas. So as I said earlier, we've broken down the process. So we've used audio to capture their ideas, their creative thinking, and now the next step is the writing process. And so there is a process that we're working through. First of all, thinking about the task in hand and what they need to do. Speaking is obviously what we've just done in terms of speaking and capturing the ideas, thoughts that they've been thinking about. We've been listening to the audio, and that whole process scaffolds in terms of the learning process. And then what we need to now look at is in terms of the writing. And so, whilst before, particularly those that maybe suffered from lack of working memory, for example, or lack of attention, they may have struggled in terms of, they may have, for example, started to write. By the time they're in the middle, they've already started to forget what they wrote at the beginning. With this, they can always go back to the audio and use that as a cue to remember what they're going to be writing about. And so, as we listen to this.
Hi, it is my second day in ancient Rome.
So, in here, hi, this is my second day in ancient Rome. Continue.
Second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went.
Yesterday afternoon. And as I'm listening to it, I can then start the transcription process, converting my audio into a text format. I'd no longer have to remember what I want to write. I can always go back to the audio to trigger my thoughts and start that writing process. And there are some tools in here. So if I basically struggle with letter word sound association, there is a text-to-speech facility.
Afternoon.
Or I could have the whole section read back. So if we just pick the task and have that read back.
You are a time traveler who has gone back in time to ancient Rome. Write a short postcard back to the future describing everyday life as a wealthy Roman citizen.
Now it could be that maybe I wasn't sure on a spelling. Maybe I spelled that wrong. I can highlight that. Then check the spelling, second, and I can replace it. So there is an inbuilt spell checker within it. And so we won't go through this at the moment and transcribe everything, because luckily I've got one prepared earlier. So what I've done now is I've gone through, I've listened to the audio, and I've transcribed what I'm listening to. And then what I can then do then is I have this image pane. So this provides a very audio visual format. So I can go into here and start to import some images into further reinforce, communicate my ideas. And so the first one was it was the gladiator fighting. We went and we went to the Roman banquet. We went to the Roman baths. Here we are. We've got chariots. There's my chariot. And a final grand finale of an image. Back to the future, where it goes back in time. And so we've got images here to represent ideas, we've got the text, and we've got also the original audio, all in one place. Now, this can be shared like this, but also there's a very good presentation tool within Audio Notetaker. So by clicking on here, I can now present this piece of work. So just play this through.
Hi, it is my second day in ancient Rome. Yesterday afternoon I went to watch the gladiators fight, since new Roman friends insisted. It is the in thing. It was a gory mess, lots of blood and body bits. After we went to a banquet, wasn't as pleasant as it sounds. There were several courses, but some of the food they eat would make you throw up. This morning we went to the Roman baths, lots of swimming, then relaxing. Today we went chariot racing at Circus Maximus. That was too bloody, almost as bad as the gladiator fight.
Right, I'll stop that there. So that gives you an idea in terms of how then the student can present their work, and also, which is a new feature in this latest version, that presentation view can then be exported out just by simply clicking on here as a video. So that can then be used as for the student to upload to their VLE learning platform, for example, or shared on the school's intranet, for example. So there's various different ways that it can be shared. You can, for example, just extract out the audio itself to have an MP3 file. And it's great for things like creating podcasts, for example, or audio blogs are some other examples. Now, I'm just going to show you some other examples. So not all the time the student is capable of the transcription process, but it may be just required of looking at a child's ability to communicate and explain how they've done something. So this is a design and technology project that was done in a primary school, and it was to make a chocolate box. So they made the chocolate and then they had to create the packaging for it. And so this child, to have asked them to write about this, you would have been lucky to have got one or two sentences. And so instead what the teacher did was get the student to record the process of creating the chocolate box. So here we go.
Is how I made my chocolate box. I made it out of card, and I made it with a few paper clips. I used glue and score it with scissors, which is basically you use the scissors, you open it, and then you score it down the paper.
So this child, age 7, beginning of key stage 2, and so this was an alternative way for the teacher to evidence the child's work and how they explain the process of designing and creating the chocolate blocks. In here, he went more into detail of, what scoring was, which would never have appeared in the written format. Also, there was some vocab that was used, and so what you'll find is that there is a richer use of vocab when you get them to start using the audio, and hopefully then that translates into the written piece. So here the child uses the word.
Scored it again with the scissors, like that. And then, well,
Technically, which wasn't a word that would have been something assumed that the child would have written down. So what we're evidencing in a different way is the level of vocab of the child. Some other areas of use can be modern foreign languages. As I touched earlier, a child who might be confident in English, when they're learning a second or third language, are not so confident. And so here, for example, it can be used as compare and contrast. The statements can be typed into here for the student to read out and record in.
Je suis allé aux vacances en juillet.
Sorry, I had it all slow there, so.
Je suis allé aux vacances en juillet.
Right, and so we've got the student recording theirs, and then the teacher has recorded her version.
Je suis allé en vacances en juillet.
Now, for example, that may be a bit fast for the students, so they can slow that down using this tool without affecting the legibility of the actual audio.
Je suis allé en vacances en juillet.
So if they're listening as part of a comprehension exercise, listening and comprehension, they're struggling, they can slow it down to understand what they're listening to. And also in this, it's a good way in terms of the student being able to speak and then listen to themselves, and then also then compare that to, say, a native speaker. Here we have an example at secondary, GCSE, developing spoken language, where the student has basically two recordings, one of an earlier recording, and the colour keys were used by the teacher to clearly mark out where areas for improvement. So, you know, strong, clear voice. There's only one bit here where there's a strong voice, and there's lots of orange here, not too fast, slow. So clearly within speaking, the student was clearly able to see where they needed to improve. A second audio was then improved, and also visually, and this was what was good for the student, they could see quite quickly how they'd progressed. So you can see there's more gaps, pauses in terms of speaking. There are more red, so clear voices, you know, strong, clear voice. And so for the student, it built up their confidence in terms of speaking, and for the teacher, it was a great assessment tool, feedback tool, an evidencing tool. And it also could be used in terms of group work, so you might have two students working together. This was an interview and interviewee, and so what the students did was separately record the conversation into a digital voice recorder and then import it in, and it was how to make coffee. And the underlying learnings around that was developing speaking skills, interviewing, and also in terms of giving instructions. So I'll just play this back. This is my final
All over the world, millions of people make coffee in their own different ways. We're talking to one particular person who makes his coffee in a very unusual way. Here is Zach. Hello Zach, how do you make your coffee?
I get a tea bag which has filled with coffee.
So
See.
it's a coffee bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then put that in.
I'll stop that there. So what was good was how it captured the evidence. So you've got the two students. Students had to listen to this and decide how they were going to organise it. So they broke it into sections and used the colour keys. So the section colours were used to differentiate between the interview and the interviewee. So the interviewer was pink, the interviewer was green, and then they broke it up accordingly as to who was speaking. They then used the colour keys here to identify questions and answers, and they transcribed that. But also, you know, how do you make coffee? I've got a tea bag which is filled with coffee, so it's a coffee bag. So clearly the interviewer has picked up on this and has reacted accordingly with her question. So it's great in terms of the sort of nuances of spoken language and how this can be captured. Okay, so those were the examples that I was going to show to you today, and we'll just go back and finish off now. I know that we're running slightly over time, and so but we're close to ending. And so, as part of this Sonors to the Schools pack, the product does come with a whole range of different lesson plans and resources. At the moment, we've got them specifically for English, ICT, Modern Foreign Languages, and SEN, and we're currently looking at history as another subject topic to incorporate some lesson plan activities into. And so all of this can then be accessed and speed up the process of embedding these techniques into the classroom. So the other benefits is obviously, as well as the using it for reluctant writers, developing speaking and listening skills, great from the view of students being able to speak and then listen to themselves. It's particularly at the younger age group where, say at Key Stage 1s, they don't necessarily realise how much they speak to explain, and so getting them to listen to themselves enables them to understand that they, or being more concise. It can be used for content authoring and lesson content delivery, so using that presentation tool, for example, and exporting out a video enables teachers to create, resources that can be used, say, outside of school by the students. And also support independent note-taking strategies. So, for example, students who may struggle with listening as well as taking notes, what they can do is use the software to capture whoever's speaking and then take their notes against the audio. So this can be a very powerful method. Some upcoming ideas, there's an iOS version in development to allow you to record. So if you have an iPad, for example, you can use that to record and do some of the basic functionality before moving on to the software. We're also looking at, it crops up particularly with students with special educational needs, does it do automatic transcription? It's something that the software doesn't have, and that's partly because that's part of the learning process, listening and then doing the writing up from what you're listening to all helps to develop knowledge and understanding. But there are obviously students who cannot get to that stage, and so, or maybe too young, and lack keyboarding skills. So in that circumstance, we are looking at how to do automatic transcription, but also because of accuracy, having a remote human-based transcription service. So we can certainly keep you posted on that. I just wanted to leave you with some quotes from some users of Audio Notetaker, so I'll just give you a minute or so just to reflect on that. Okay, so just to let you know that there are over 40,000 users of Audio Notetaker, so just to give you an understanding of its usage base. And to finalise, the pricing is $79.99 for a single perpetual license. We do have volume and site license options available. We also offer free home teacher access on volume and site licenses to enable teachers to use in terms of classroom preparation work. We also have a unique loaner license system which allows you to say buy 5 licenses and loan them out to students for a set period of time, so maybe for a project, and once then that's completed, then it's returned back to the system and you can loan that out to another student. So it's a good way to make the most of your budget but reach the widest audience. So that concludes this webinar. Hopefully you found this very useful. Before you leave this webinar, we do have a short online questionnaire, so if you wouldn't mind completing that, would be much appreciated. Your feedback will certainly help us to ensure that we deliver webinars in future that are both useful and informative. So thank you and many thanks. And to exit this webinar, just close this window. Thank you.